Welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel every week. It chooses the horror movie, and they discuss it. Today we're talking about 1988's Beetlejuice, which was directed by Tim Burton. I'm your co-host, Alec.
I'm Eric, and with us again is Cat, but also her friend Allie. Allie Cat, welcome to the show.
Woo, hi.
Thank you.
I love it's like a comedic duo. It's like Allie Cat. Allie and Cat. But yeah, welcome back to the show, Kat. You've been on you did both the It movies, and then did you one of the Conjurings with us too?
No, I just did both It's.
Oh.
Yeah, that's pretty much. Part 1 and 2.
You love the Conjuring movies, though, is that it?
She loves Conjuring.
Yeah, it's my favorite movie for sure. The first one. The rest of them are A-okay.
Right. Remind me, you said you fall asleep to the Conjuring movies, right? Or the first one?
I do. I have it as my background noise.
I mean, that just stuck with me because I'm like, wow, that's I think it's a pretty scary movie, so I don't know. Falling asleep to that's pretty intense.
The crazy part too is that it took me maybe 2 years to watch it because I was terrified to watch it in the theater because all those people were saying oh yeah, there's priests blessing people before the movie. It's really scary. So I was like, I'm not watching it. And then I watched it at home and I was like, oh my God, it wasn't that bad.
Alec, do you want to give the spark notes to your Ed and Lorraine story? Like a quick hit of it?
Yeah, I mean, the Ed and Lorraine Warren are, they're in Connecticut. They're demonologists that are very famous. It's what the Conjuring movies are based off of. My mom played with Ouija boards a lot as a young girl. So when she got pregnant with me, my dad, I guess, worked at a record store with their grandson. And he was telling the grandson about, oh yeah, my wife is pregnant and she's used to play with a lot of Ouija boards and do that stuff. He's like, you should get your baby pre-exercised or whatever, before he's born. So they reached out to the Warrens. They went to this church in Connecticut that they do only Latin sermons, and they did a pre-birth exorcism on me. So that's my little weird connection with the Conjuring movies that Eric loves bringing up.
Well, it's an amazing story.
I mean, we have a horror podcast.
I don't think many can say that. I've been pre-exercised by Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Right.
Well, I found out about it from doing this. My mom never told me, and then we started doing the podcast, and there was another guest that had a connection with that church that they brought me, that my mom went to get the pre-birth exorcism or whatever. So there's a weird connection that all came out from this.
Connecticut's a small town.
It's a small town, but it's a state.
Before we jump into this movie, though, Allie, I want to find out, what do you like about horror? What's your background with it? I mean, your dog's name is Gloom, and he's wearing a sweater with a crossbone on it, so I'm figuring you like horror.
I do. I think I just I still get really, really scared and I get anxious when I watch the movies, but it's sort of like that roller coaster feeling where you're so anxious going up and then going down. It's just the thrill of your life. And I kind of experience that when I watch these movies where it's I'm so scared, but I can't take my eyes off the screen. And also just visually, I always find horror movies just so kind of, especially one what we're talking about today, where it's just so visually interesting, and I've just been a big fan. I'm a 90s girl through and through, so 90s slasher is just it's my jam.
Well, really quick, I want to also connect you and Eric because, Allie, you're a huge Beavis and Butthead fan, speaking of 90s things.
I am.
And Eric, you love Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, a little. No, I used to love that show.
Yeah, that show, my brother just, he can, just send me a Beavis and Butthead GIF, at any time, and it will just, bring tears. It's just something about that type of comedy. I just love it so much.
It's so dumb, and it's so a beaten dead horse, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's just so simple. Yeah.
It was the 90s. It was simple. It was fun. But yeah, so jumping into this movie a little bit, I mean, this is just such a classic movie. And I mean, we've all seen this, I'm sure, a lot of times, right? This is nobody's first time, right?
Oh, no.
No.
Yeah, this is, really quick, just also, Eric, we haven't even talked about this. The three of us, Allie, Kat, and I, we all went to this place called Beetlejuice in LA here, which is a what is it? Why don't you guys tell? It's like a Tim Burton themed restaurant bar.
Yeah, so it's Tim Burton inspired.
No affiliation.
No affiliation.
No copyrights. Don't sue them.
But yeah, it's just kind of a dark, moody, spooky place where you can get dinner, and then they have characters who come out and sing and do little shows and magic tricks, and so it's all sort of in the theme of different Tim Burton movies.
And I mean, I feel like it's called Beetle House, and obviously, like, the host of it is Beetlejuice, so it's like, this movie is still that popular, because it was, like, pretty packed, you know, and, like, clearly this movie is... Oh, and they're making a sequel, apparently, too, so, like, this movie is still in the zeitgeist, it's still very popular, but I want to know, like, Kat, Allie, what's your guys' like, experience with this movie? How did you guys get into this?
I think it's just a staple cult classic. Like, it's I mean, I think I've mentioned this before. I, since, like, a little age, have always just been drawn to, like, this side of, like, movies, like, horror and Tim Burton. I think just with Nightmare Before Christmas, it just, like, has this very special place in my heart. And then I was kind of, like, exposed to Beetlejuice, and I just loved it. And then everyone, when I was little, because I always used to have straight bangs, so everyone would always say I was Lydia Dietz and Lydia Dietz. And I actually dressed up like her a couple of times, and, like, I looked just like her, and everybody... Like, I actually went to Beetle House in their older location, I think for my... what birthday? My 2019 birthday. And one of the workers there thought I was the Lydia performer, and he was like, "Hey, girl, go on your break." And I was like, "It's my birthday. I'm just here." And he's like, "Oh, shit, I'm sorry." And I was like, yep, yeah. So it's always just been, it has always had a special place in my heart, and I think Allie can attest the same for her.
Yeah, definitely. This is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I have seen a lot of movies. There's something about this movie, I think, again, just visually, it's just so beautiful. When I think of, like, something as simple as, like, Miss Argentina, like, just the colors of her and how beautiful she is, and just, you know, the visuals of the house and of Delia, and just... But I think overall, it really made me fall in love with Michael Keaton. And just, like, it's one of those characters where you can't really imagine anybody else playing that role. You know, like, it just wouldn't fit. And I don't know if the film would have been as much of a success without his performance, as, like, tiny of a part as it actually is compared to the rest of the movie. It's just... he just killed it.
I disagree.
And it was, like, super out of character for him.
You disagree?
I think Chris Pratt could play Beetlejuice. I'm kidding.
Oh, heck no.
Come on.
Oh, heck no. Isn't Chris Pratt canceled?
Is he? He's canceled now? Oh.
No, he's Mario. He's
Well, everyone was mad about that because he was canceled.
It's like, he's not even Italian. Why is he the voice of Mario? I don't know.
He's not even Italian.
He's not even a plumber. This makes no sense. I don't know.
No, but you're right. I mean, like, apparently the first choice was actually Sammy Davis Jr. That's who Tim Burton initially wanted, and then they're like, no. So he met with, which would have been very different. But then he met with Michael Keaton, and Michael Keaton apparently turned it down. And then they had a conversation or whatever, and they kind of explained what they both wanted the character to be, and they just completely clicked on it. Yeah, it was supposed to be a much darker, like, almost like Freddy Krueger-esque character, but, like, obviously that's not how it turned out.
I love that they went the comedic route.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. He's like a pretty big scumbag, but, you know, it's funny.
Oh, yeah.
But
it's so funny.
Rewatching it this time, I was kind of like, well, he's like really going at Gina Davis, like, pretty hard. I didn't remember that. Yeah, it was pretty aggressive.
Yes. Yeah, he's definitely problematic. But he is dead, so I guess we can give him a pass.
That's true. I mean, he's like, guys, give me a break. I'm 600 years old. My God.
Right.
Not the voice.
Yeah, no, I can't do a good Beetlejuice impression. But Eric, what about you? When was the first time you saw this?
I would say 7 or 8, probably.
Yeah, right.
That's when I first saw it. And to Kat's point, and Allie's, like, the visually, like, it's such a creative movie. Even from, like, them stepping outside of the house as ghosts and the sandworms, and just the colors, the sculptures, the black and white with the green in Beetlejuice, and I love it all. This movie has a lot of creativity behind it, and and Michael Keaton, obviously, he's the only one I can ever imagine playing this. Hey, how you doing? nice fucking model.
Fucking model, yes.
How can they say that in a PG movie?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that funny? It kind of goes to show you, right? Like, that was 88, what they could get away with, you know? And it's so brief, but then when you do catch it now as an adult, it's like, damn, they were a little risque, and I love it, you know?
Oh, they say like a lot of stuff. I mean, like when he's like good fucking model, I was like, I don't remember that on the Disney Channel when I was a kid. Like, but yeah, I mean, like I watched this on the Disney Channel as a kid, like a bunch. I remember being pretty scared of it, but now watching it now, I'm like, this would be PG-13 for sure if it was
Yeah.
that.
PG-13, absolutely. And there's a children's cartoon.
I love the children's
Yes.
cartoon.
I liked it too. It was great. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, this is a kid's movie. Like, it is, right? Am I crazy? Or this is a kid's movie, right?
I feel like if Beetlejuice came out now, it wouldn't have been as big, because I feel like now everyone's so easily offended. I feel like they would get very offended by Beetlejuice now, but because it's such a cult classic, and like, I feel like it's even getting more popular now because people are very much in that niche of like horror and just like spooky, and like, that's why it's even more popular, and it's still getting more and more popular, which I feel like that's why they're doing Beetlejuice too.
How do you think they're going to do a sequel? Like, quick around the room. I have an idea of how they're going to do it, but...
I think Beetlejuice is gonna come back, or Lydia has her family, and like, he's gonna be like, hey, I'm back. What's up, babe?
I read a pretty terrible synopsis of like what the expected sequel was, and you know, who knows, because it was on like Wikipedia or something. But it was something about like a Hawaiian vacation Beetlejuice, and I just thought, oh god, I'm so glad they didn't roll with that idea. But yeah, I mean, just imagine, like, Winona Ryder is just like, she's still just like this totally quirky, weird woman who's just like still so perfect for the role of Lydia, and I just like, I'm so excited about the idea. But I think they've been toying with it for quite some time, so who knows, you know?
I feel like they even said that they wanted to like bring in Johnny Depp to do something too, which I think it's amazing, but I don't know how they're gonna include him. I feel like the only way they could include him was as her husband, and they'd have kids or something.
Oh yeah, that could work.
Well, Beetlejuice, he used to work in that handbook world. Like, remember the woman who has the slit throat with the cigarettes?
Yeah.
She said, oh, don't ever work with him. He's the worst. Like, we fired him years ago. So he used to be... So maybe Johnny Depp comes in as a character who used to work there with him, and they're, like, terrible coworkers. Like, kind of like Michael Scott and whatever the guy is. Like, terrible harassment guys. And, like, I don't know. I could see that working. But my idea of how this could be a sequel, and I would love to see this, like, let's say it's today. Obviously, like, Winona Ryder and Catherine O'Hara are very older. The dad, I don't see him being in this movie. He's been totally... Don't want to go there with what happened with him, but he's out of Hollywood. But I could see like Catherine O'Hara getting robbed, or there's a murderer, and Winona Ryder hasn't thought of needing help before, but she gets in a situation where she needs help, and she calls on Beetlejuice for the first time in... How long has it been since this movie came out? Jeez Louise. So it's like the one thing, like last thing we'll ever do is say his name, and they get to a point where they need help, and she calls Beetlejuice to like save her mother from death or something like that.
Yeah, I love that, because it's like, why else would he come back, you know? I think that's amazing.
He does get eaten by the sandworm at the end, but maybe he lived because he's crazy.
No, what are you talking about? He becomes a little head.
Right.
The shrunken head.
Yeah.
Yes, but he gets taken out of the real world by the sandworm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I could see that being a thing where like they will never call on him unless they desperately need to, and they get in a situation where they desperately need him. And how would they bring Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis back? I don't know.
I know, because they look so different now, and like, at least
No, I don't know.
because they're dead, so they would have to look the same. And I was about to mention that, I'm like, can we talk about how great Alec Baldwin looks in this movie? And I did not know it was him for the longest time until I actually looked at the cover, and I was like, Alec Baldwin? Who's Alec Baldwin in this movie? And then I was like, oh my god!
I know, it's pretty crazy how different he looks.
Yeah.
Maybe they say that they finally passed on and went to the afterlife in a nice way after years of listening to Harry Belafonte.
This is a crazy movie. They could just make something up. I mean, it's okay. Like, I don't think anybody's gonna be like mad.